Have you ever watched the person you love become a complete stranger right before your eyes? I saw it in the cold blue light of a phone screen at 2 in the morning. It wasn't our phone. It was her other asterisk phone. The one I wasn't supposed to know existed. Her thumb was scrolling, a faint, smug smile on her face, as she basked in the glow of a life I had no part in. The screen illuminated a profile picture I'd never seen her, laughing on a balcony overlooking the Chicago skyline, a flute of champagne in her hand, looking carefree and completely, utterly single. The username was Chitown Amelia, and her bio simply read, "Living my best life. Unapologetic." I felt the floor of our 10-year marriage drop out from under me, plunging me into a cold, dark abyss. I didn't know who the woman sleeping next to me was anymore, but I was about to find out every last one of her secrets. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For a decade, Amelia was my world. We built a life in a quiet suburb of Chicago, the kind of place with manicured lawns and neighbors who waved. I worked a steady job in logistics. She was a marketing consultant for a high-end firm downtown. Our life was comfortable, predictable. I thought it was happy. The first crack in the facade was so small I almost missed it. It was her phone habits. Suddenly, her phone was glued to her hand, but always angled away from me. It would buzz late at night, and she'd dismiss it as work stuff. Then came the late nights at the office, and the client dinners that stretched into the early morning hours. When I'd ask who she was with, the names were always vague, a list of colleagues I'd never met. She started treating me with a cool disdain, as if my very presence was an inconvenience. My questions were met with sighs and accusations of being controlling. God, can't I have my own life? She'd snap, her voice dripping with a venom that was entirely new. She was a master of manipulation, twisting my concern into paranoia, making me feel like I was the one losing my mind. The woman I married, the one who'd cry during sad movies and hold my hand during walks, was gone. In her place was this cold, arrogant stranger who looked at me with contempt. The breaking point came on our anniversary. I'd booked a table at Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse on Rush Street, our spot. She canceled an hour before, texting me, swamped with a deadline. "Can't make it, Ranchek." I sat in our living room, the silence screaming at me. That night I couldn't sleep. An overwhelming, gut-twisting feeling led me to her purse, something I had never done in 10 years. Tucked away in a side pocket was a second phone. My heart hammered against my ribs. It was unlocked. And there it was. Her secret life laid bare in glowing pixels. The TikTok account was just the beginning. There were texts, hundreds of them, to a man named Julian. They were graphic, filled with details of their meets at the Langham Hotel, of weekends he'd flown her to Miami. He was a wealthy client of her firm, apparently. I saw pictures of them together, her wearing lingerie I'd never seen, him with a smug grin plastered on his face. They mocked me in their texts. "The ball and chain has no idea," one of Julian's messages read. Amelia's reply, "He's too boring to ever suspect a thing." Humiliation washed over me, hot and suffocating. I felt like a fool, a punchline in a cruel joke. I sank to the floor, the phone in my hand, and for the first time in my adult life, I wept. Not loud, just silent. Hot tears of betrayal carving paths down my face. In that moment, the love I had for her died, and something else, something cold and hard, began to grow in its place. The next morning, I put the phone back. I said nothing. I watched her as she got ready for work, humming a tune, completely oblivious to the fact that I knew. The mask was back on. She was my wife again, but all I could see was the liar underneath. My grief curdled into a quiet, simmering rage. She wasn't just going to leave my life. She was going to leave it with nothing. The revenge would not be swift. It would be a slow, meticulous demolition of the world she'd built on my trust. I started gathering evidence. I took pictures of every text, every photo on that secret phone. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who specialized in matrimonial cases. It was expensive, but worth every penny. He got me everything. Photos of Amelia and Julian entering the Langham, holding hands on Oak Street Beach, kissing in his Bentley. He even got me financial records. It turned out Amelia had been siphoning money from our joint savings account into a private one. She was building an escape hatch with my money. I contacted the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a shark named Ms. Albright. I laid out the evidence on her polished mahogany desk. She looked at the photos, the bank statements, the printouts of the TikTok account, and a slow, predatory smile spread across her face. "Mr. Davies," she said, her voice like ice, "we are going to utterly destroy her. The plan had two parts, social and legal annihilation. For the social part, I waited for her firm's annual charity gala, their biggest event of the year. Julian would be there. Amelia's entire professional world would be there. For weeks, I played the part of the devoted, slightly clueless husband. I even suggested we go to marriage counseling, a suggestion she laughed off. "We don't need that," she'd said, patting my arm with a patronizing smile. The night of the gala, she looked stunning in a backless gown. "You look beautiful," I said, and for the first time in months, I meant it. She looked like a beautiful, venomous snake. As we walked into the grand ballroom at the Four Seasons, she was in her element, air-kissing and laughing with her colleagues. She introduced me to her boss, a man whose hand I shook while knowing his star employee was a fraud. I saw Julian across the room smirking at me over the rim of his champagne glass. They thought they were untouchable. The trap was set. During the main presentation, a video was scheduled to play, showcasing the firm's achievements. I had paid off one of the AV techs, a young kid in debt. At exactly 9:15 p.m., as Amelia's boss was on stage talking about integrity and trust, the corporate video flickered and died. In its place, a new video began. It started with a photo of Amelia and me on our wedding day, happy and hopeful. Then, it cut to a picture of her and Julian, kissing in his car, date stamped from the week before. The room fell silent. Then came the text messages, blown up on the giant screen for everyone to read. "The ball and chain has no idea. He's too boring to ever suspect a thing." It ended with a montage of photos from the PI, the Langham, the beach. The Bentley, all set to a sad classical piano piece. I watched Amelia's face. Color drained from it. Her smile froze, then crumbled. A collective gasp went through the ballroom. People were pointing, whispering. Her boss stared at the screen, then at her, his face a mask of fury. Julian just stood there, pale and slack-jawed, a coward exposed. Amelia looked at me, her eyes wide with horror and disbelief. I just gave a slight, cold nod and walked out of the ballroom. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. She was fired the next day. The video, of course, had been leaked online and went viral in Chicago business circles. She was a pariah, Julian's own wife, who I had anonymously sent the evidence to, filed for divorce and took him to the cleaners. The legal trap snapped shut the following week. Ms. Albright filed the divorce papers, citing adultery with irrefutable proof. We went to court. Amelia, stripped of her job and social standing, tried to fight for half of our assets. But Ms. Albright presented the evidence of her secret bank account, the money she had stolen. The judge was not impressed. In the end, she got nothing. Not the house, not the savings, not a dime of alimony. The prenup we signed, which had an infidelity clause I'd long forgotten, was ironclad. I last saw her a few months later. She was working as a waitress in a diner off the highway. Her hair was a mess, her eyes were hollow. She saw me, and for a moment I saw a flicker of the woman I once loved, a flicker of shame and regret. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by that familiar, bitter resentment. She turned away without a word. I drove home to my quiet, empty house, the silence no longer screaming, but whispering. I had one. I had destroyed her. I still live in that house. It's clean now, purged of her memory. Sometimes, late at night, I find myself thinking about that secret TikTok account. I wonder if she ever scrolls through it, looking at the ghost of the life she tried to build, a life built on a foundation of lies. The revenge was total, but it didn't fix the hole she left in my life. It just made the edges cleaner, colder. It didn't make me happy. It just made me alone. The end.